Erev Tov to everyone. This is Erev Tisha B'Av, the eve of the 9th of Av. And we had a little trouble getting on, but that's no surprise because Tisha B'Av is a complicated and difficult time. So we are, we're ready. We're ready to begin. And when we do this at CRC, when we're in person, what we've done in the past is we've invited people who have had a loss in the past year to come and light a candle and to tell us a little bit about the person that they've lost. Because Tisha B'Av is about loss. It's about grieving. But it's not so much about individual loss, really. It's really about communal loss. It's about grieving together all of the losses that we've had. And at a funeral this morning, I could feel even the people there were so ready for this year to be over. So Tisha B'Av is the last of these holidays in the cycle, really, before we begin the ascent to the new year. So tonight and tomorrow are really important. And so in the next few moments, we're going to kind of carry you through the narrows of lament and learning from the Book of Lamentations, Jeremiah, to the traditions around Tisha B'Av, the fasting, and the work that we need to do to get from here to there.
The calendar is set so that the first portion of Devarim of Deuteronomy is read on the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av is the culmination of a 3-week period, a mournful period that we call Between the Narrows, or the 3 weeks. And then immediately after Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, we read there are, on 7 successive weeks, there are 7 readings from the Isaiah, beginning in chapter 40. And they're called the Haftorahs of Consolation. And they all contain some message of comfort from the deep grief trip that's signified by the 3 weeks. So that's the algebra of, in the poem of the name Between the Narrows.
Just a lot about something.
Also, not all the words of Isaiah are so consoling. The pieces called Consolation seem to pull out the softer messages in the words of Isaiah. I'll read one of them. 3 hidden elementals of grief, 7 revealed of consolation, the complete 10. Sadness pulled from within, the secret force, gradual revelation of toward, because from is strong. Calculating weights, sadness sat on the hands, lingered on the heart line. Thrown down a line, slowly, slowly, I took hold, silent and alive. Comfort, be comforted. Listen, the intention to serve, wilderness a plain, every valley a high place. All flesh see together, grass and flowers speak to the mountains. Lift up your voice from low places. Foundations know and hear, lift up your eyes, plant your feet. Give yourself a name. Give everything a name. So I paid attention to this ratio of 3 to 7. 3 weeks of grief, 7 weeks of consolation, the 3 to 7 ratio. The grief is deep and the mournfulness is heavy. You would expect it would take such a ratio in order even to begin to recover. So I'm going to make a tune from a piece from the Book of Lamentations that we read. Tisha B'Av. This is, I think, chapter 2. Verse 19. It has 3 parts, this verse. The first part of the verse, kumi, get up, roini, sing in the night. In the darkest part of the night, get up and sing. The second part of the verse is Shivchi chamayim libeich, pour out your heart like water before the face of God. I might think that you pour out your heart like water first, then after a while I might be ready to get up and sing, split the darkness with my singing, but that's not the way the verse is written. It's written to get up and sing at the least likely time that you feel like singing. Like that's your first response. But it's clear, get up and sing, then pour out your heart like water. If I felt as if I got up and I opened my mouth, I might open up that whale and I might open up that water, that spigot that might never stop. Like a river of tears. So we sang with a whale. Shivchi chamayim, chamayim libech, nocha b'nei Hashem. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. Well, that's the way I sang it, and that's the way I felt it as I sang that song during periods of mournfulness, grief. But I ignored the third part of the verse. There was another part of the verse. After the Et Nachta. Go something like, lift up your hands for the sake of the souls of your young children who are starving from hunger at the top of every street. If I had thought, and I think I did, that the source was far away and over there and somewhere else, I was wailing and pouring my heart out like water over something that was a little remote and out of my control. I was wrong. There are children starving from hunger at the top of every street, in walking distance. Last thought, as I sang the song, I thought, well, maybe that's what saves us from despair. There's what to do here, not there.
Right.
Now, not then.
Right.
There's what to do now. Si'e lav kapaich al nefesh ulalaich ha'atifim v'ra'av v'rosh chutzot. Lift up your hands for souls, your young children starving from hunger at the top of every street.
Tisha B'Av is the end of the 3 weeks of mourning that begins with the 17th of Tammuz, which is a half fast. It's said that that's when the Romans breached the walls, and it took 3 weeks. 3 weeks. They starved us out. and then finally broke through the walls of Jerusalem and burnt the first temple and the second temple. And so it's become the custom to believe that all of the terrible things that caused our exile from physical spaces, exiles from our own souls, from our own identities, everything that strips us of being who we are meant to be, all of these things have happened on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. And so Tisha B'Av becomes a full fast day. You know, there's a wonderful story. Yochanan ben Zakkai, he was within the walls, and the zealots were saying, "We will die with the temple. We will die rather than give up the temple." And Yochanan said to his students, "We're not going to die. We're going to figure out a way to survive." And so he had his students build a coffin, and they put him in. They pretended he had died, and they didn't want death to stay in the city, so they were able to carry him out. And he went to the Roman general Vespasian, and he said, "I want to go and build a school." Vespasian said, "What, are you kidding? I don't care what you do. Just get out. Go do what you need to do." And so he did with his students. They went and they started Yavna. At that time it was in Yafu. It then moved to the Galilee some years later, but it was that school. It was that rabbinic school. That school that kept who we are, what we are, why we are going, because it focused on learning, not on the bricks, not on the sacrifice. It focused on learning. And not so much even on the answers, but on how to think. And so in that great book that came out of there, the Mishnah and the Talmud, the great books of our conversations, of our discussions, of our debates, of our teaching ourselves how to think, came one of the explanations for why the temples were destroyed. And it comes down to one story, right? The story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. So I'll tell the story, and then maybe Jimmy will offer his teaching on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about why we fast. But as I remember the story, and I actually have it from the Talmud right here, and we've talked a lot about the Talmud recently because that was one of the complaints we have about Louis the Ninth, right? Louis, why'd you burn the Talmud? Why did you burn our books? This was before the printing press, Louis. Every book was written by hand, every book so carefully documented, every book in its margins. Our people's wisdom, our people's longing to be better people, to be part of the tikkun, the repair of the world. And you burnt our books, Louis. Oh, we always wonder what we're missing. We have so much, and it's so wonderful. But what was it that you took from us when you burnt our books before your last crusade? So the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa is an important one because it tells of a man who was going to have a party. And he asked his servant to go out and invite all the people. And on the list was Kamsa. But instead of inviting Kamsa, he invited the wrong guy, his enemy, Bar Kamsa. And so when Bar Kamsa showed up at the party, the man said, "You have to leave. You're my enemy. I didn't invite you." He said, "I got an invitation." He said, "No, you have to leave." And he said, "Look, don't shame me. Let me stay and I'll pay for my own dinner." "No, you have to leave." He said, "Please, please, don't shame me in front of all these people. I'll pay for your whole dinner." He said, "No, you have to leave. You're my enemy." Finally, the man said, "I'll pay for everything. I'll do anything." And the man wouldn't budge. And so Bar Kamsa had to leave. And this hatred, this shaming, this sinah, this this terrible base banality of evil, hatred, of shaming another person, of not making room for a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of transformation, a little bit of not demonizing another, and opening for the possibility of something. Because of that one act, the temple was destroyed.
Bar Kamsa comes to the party. One, I was invited by mistake. It was Kamsa who was friend of the host. I was an enemy. But the host sent the invitation to me, Bar Kamsa. An honest mistake. 2, so I went. When I arrived, they threw me out. I pleaded with them not to embarrass me. They embarrassed me. 3, the rabbis watched and said nothing. I was upset, so I went to the Romans. 4, thus the Romans destroyed the temple. 5, here is what I've learned. The house can be taken down for the most trivial stuff. Stupid defends stupid.
Right.
And if you watch, you're complicit. The antidote always love each other ruthlessly. The house can be taken down by nothing. Only love restores everything. Until then, resist stupid with everything you got.
Amen.
The house is plenty large enough for all of us. Yours truly, Bar Kamsa.
So true. So just a word about fasting before we have this kind of ritual. You're going to show the video of Empty Me, right?
I think I can do
I
that.
hope so. So why do we fast? This is a 24-hour fast. This is what we call a full fast. And, you know, we talk a lot with our Muslim family because they also understand the importance of fasting. It's not a hunger strike, and it's not about not eating. It's about intention. It's about being separate from the material world enough to really focus, to really become a channel for something holy. We get this notion from the fast of Esther. Esther, when she wanted to, she was so afraid, you know, to approach the king when she found out that the king, because of Haman's evil, was going to kill all of her people. And she had to work up the strength and the devotion and the intention to be able to face the king, to change his heart. And so what she did the day before she approached him is she fasted. She did a holy fast to prepare herself to change the heart of the king, so that when she approached him, she would be ready. She would be ready, prepared, body, mind, and soul, not distracted by anything in the material world, but really, because of her holy fast, she was ready to offer the right prayers. She was ready to ask for the right intention. She was ready to save her people.
Should I play that too? Let's see if we can make this one.
So we're going to see if we can play a video and a prayer that also helps us have an intention for emptying, that we can truly become channels for godliness, for goodness, and for the kind of compassion that saves the heart of the world. Can you do it? Working? For godliness, for goodness, and for the kind of compassion that saves the heart. Can you hear? Okay. I don't know if we can hear the video. Can you hear it? No? No? Oh, we tried to share this wonderful video, but it's not, I think we're not, somehow it wasn't working. So we'll figure out how to do that maybe, and for tomorrow night, we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I can do it live.
Okay. Okay. For joining us, it's Erev Tisha B'Av, the Erev, the evening before this holy day that we have, the 9th day of Av, the saddest day in the Jewish year, when we remember all the destructions, all the terrible things that have happened. But, you know, because of the holiness of this day, because we're not afraid to face our sorrow and our grief, it's also the day the Messiah is going to be born. It's also the day the Messiah will be born. So what do we do to get out of our own way? What do we do not to make it about us, ourselves, but to make it about all of us? To do what we need to do to sacrifice for the common good. To not believe in that scarcity, that illusion of scarcity that says there's not enough for everyone. There is more than enough for everyone.
Here I am, planted in front of you, my conspirators, in prayer, to pray for myself, and on behalf of my community. Some of the people here I know, I love them. Some of the people here I don't know, I love them too. Empty me, empty me, empty me from everything that obstructs, from all that gets in the way from what I love and what I love the most. Empty me. I am a vessel, an instrument, a harp on the edge of the bed, northern wind blowing through me. Play me like a harp, like a flute, like an oud. Oh, empty me, empty me. From everything that obstructs all that, from God and everything I love the most. empty me, empty me. Rescue me from the externals, from the externals. Empty me. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, with the Mashiach, and asked, "When will you come?" Mashiach answered, "Today." The day passed and Mashiach didn't come. Yehoshua ben Levi met Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet asked, "What did the Mashiach say to you?" "Well, the Mashiach spoke false," said Yehoshua ben Levi. Mashiach said, "Today, but today passed." And we sat out in front of the Starbucks waiting. "Waiting is good," said Elijah. It's a kind of active waiting in our language, as if you are preparing for something fine that you believe in, whether it comes now or in its time. In its time, repeated Yehoshua ben Levi. In its time. That's the way Mashiach talks, said Elijah. It's always today, if you listen. Maybe you can listen better. Just a thought. Yeah. I'm going to get my slicha prayer. Okay. Okay. All right. So, you want to, you're going to have people, ask people to light a candle. So what we'd love to do is invite everyone who is with us. We've certainly had many losses this year. I mean, just to light a candle for John Lewis, to light a candle for C.T. Vivian, to light a candle for George and Ahmed and Brianna. We're coming to August, and in August, St. Louis, we remember Mike Brown. We remember Von Derritt Myers. We remember so many that we have lost, that we shouldn't have lost. And so get your candles ready, and we will light them. I have a prayer that I left upstairs. Can you sing a little? At one edge of the world there is a mountain, and on that mountain a rock. And from that rock issues the freshest, purest water in the world. And on the other edge of the world beats the great heart of the world, longs for the water, it yearns for it, but it can't have it. So every evening when the sun goes down, the great heart of the world, along with all the other hearts of the world, sings the song of longing, the song of yearning. Now there is a true person of compassion, Emerson Ish Chassid, that walks the earth every evening and gathers up all these fragments of song and pulls them together into time, just enough time for another day. And so, out of yearning and out of beauty, out of incompleteness, out of hunger, out of longing, the world continues to exist. Shivchi chamayim, chamayim libech, nochach pnei Hashem. Shivchi chamayim, chamayim libech, pour out your heart like water before the face of God. Shivchi chamayim, chamayim libech, nochach b'nei Hashem. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. And so every evening, the true person of compassion pulls these fragments of song together into time, and we're given just enough for another day.
So we have this candle that will light. Again, this is a night when we grieve, when we allow ourselves to mourn, to let our souls feel the grief, to remember our losses. Because the day after Tisha B'Av, as Jimmy said, we have to begin the ascent. We'll have 7 weeks of consolation, 7 weeks to rise, so that when the new moon of Tishrei comes, somehow we've given ourselves the time and the space to grieve, so that we can make room for hope, make room to believe that when this time is over, we will be able to wish each other a good year, a healthy year, and a year of peace. So tonight we're going to use this candle. We've used it before. This is a candle that a member of CRC, when he was trying so desperately to feel the power of his son's bar mitzvah and enter into that space, he was feeling kind of outside of the experience. He wasn't, so involved in Judaism, but, his son was about to become a bar mitzvah, and he wanted to feel connected to it. And he found himself in Warsaw on a business trip in the Warsaw ghetto. And there was a store, and he was kind of drawn into the store as he told me the story. And he just kind of opened up to the shopkeeper and told him the story about his son's bar mitzvah, and he wanted to feel inside of it, and he wanted to feel connected, and he was looking for something special to bring home to his son. And the shopkeeper went into the back of the store. And he came out with this candlestick. He said, "This used to be a pair, used to be two. I only have the one. But I knew the family that it belonged to. And I remember," he said, "the last night that it was used. And if you look closely," he said, "you can see." Can you see it? If you look closely, you can see where the bullet went through the candle and right through here, pushing out the silver of the candlestick. The shopkeeper told my friend that the SS had come into the ghetto and had come into their small room where they were staying with other families, but it was Shabbat, and they had lit the Shabbos candles when they had just come in and started to shoot. It was the last time, he said, that he knew of that this candlestick was used. So he gave it to my friend. He said, "You bring this home, tell the story to your son. And every chance you get, light a candle in this candlestick and tell its story." So I figured tonight, as we light for our losses and you light maybe for yours with us, that we keep this light on as well. We say the candle of God is the soul of a human being. And so every time we light a candle, somehow we rekindle the souls of those who have gone from this world to the next. And so please call out the names of the people that you are lighting for. As I said, how could we not light this candle for John Lewis, for C.T. Vivian? Oh, I know there's so many, for George and Brianna and Aubrey and just so many. I wish I remembered the name of the young Palestinian who was the autistic, the young man who was shot. Somebody say his name. There are so many. There are so many. So for all the people that you hold in your hearts, for those who have died throughout the years, for no fault of their own, but just because they were caught in the crossfire, for the over 100 that have died on the streets of St. Louis. You know, I've been having conversations in my head with St. Louis, with Louis IX. And one of the things I asked him is, what would he think if we created a new statue out of all of the guns? We invited every person and we bought back all those guns and we melted them down and we created something beautiful, something that represented the end of white supremacy, something that really ended, showed that we were committed to ending the legacy of slavery, that awful practice of othering that has caused so much suffering. The Sinat Chinam of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa that led to the destruction of the temple so long ago. So for all the people you hold in your hearts, for all the people we've named, for the unnamed, for the unknown, we mourn and we grieve together and we say the words of the Kaddish. We say together, Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, V'chayachon v'yom echon v'chayei Beit Yisrael, V'agala v'zman.
Yesh me Rabba Mavarach Le'olam Olamei Amen. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei l'kudisha b'richu Leila minchu birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata Namiran v'yalma v'imru amen Yehei shalom rabba min shemayim v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'mramav
Aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel
Amen.
ve'imru. Amen.
V'imru, v'imru, v'imru,
Amen.
v'imru, 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 v'imru,
See, my friend Catlin is here. Catlin, I think we've been mentioning your mama Linda every week, and I know that my friend Alyssa looked up the name of that young man, Iyad El Halak. We're sorry. You know, one of the other things that happens in the book of Jeremiah, and we'll talk about this tomorrow night when we end, maybe a little bit more. But in the book of Jeremiah, which is the text for Tisha B'Av, the Megillah for Tisha B'Av, the book of lament that we sit on the ground and we mourningly chant Echa. Echa is how, but it's not a question how. You see, how, it says, how could things have gotten this bad? You know, it's not really a question. It's an observation. How did we let things get this bad? That's Echa. And so we'll do that tonight in the morning. And you know, Echa is related to the word Ayeka, which is what God calls out to Adam and Eve in the garden. Ayeka. It's also not a question. Where are you, Adam and Eve? Where are you? What's the matter with you? You know, what are you doing? Know yourself. Figure this out. Ayeka. Where are you? So they're not really questions. They're longings. And in the book of Jeremiah, there's also this moment in chapter 31 where we hear Rachel crying. Rachel crying for the children. Not just for her children. I mean, one of the Midrash says that she's crying out for Joseph because she knows her Joseph is going to have a hard time before he finds himself. But she cries for the exiled children. She's crying for the children in cages today. She's crying for the refugee children. Think about all those Syrian refugee children. Think about all the children of the world who are hungry, who don't have what they need when others have so much. She's crying for the children. And she will not be consoled until there is no longer suffering. So we'll end with another lament, and we invite everyone to fast with us or go through the day tomorrow, and we'll be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night to end the fast together. We've made some huevos, some Sephardic eggs. We'll break our fast and have some more learning about how we go from lament
year the Bible came alive. There were villains, not nearly enough God or gods. Leviticus came, we all purified, hid our faces behind masks, celebrated the Queen. We tried to become a people, waiting an election, maybe then. We became a priesthood, offered up our distance, kept our proximity. We went to the mountain, and on the other side, we went back. We drew on peaks. I was there, I was. How was it for you? We returned to prophecy that year. Jeremiah, Isaiah, the rest of them sitting on the bench outside the coffee shop, takeout. It's closed, they said. Drink a river of coffee. Stay up as long as it takes. Make the peace of the near, the peace of the far. We'll get to that. Coffee might be the key, they said. Micah, also justice, then Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy came alive, and we chased after justice double time. We loved our crooks, criminals, and nincompoops who ascended, and now the season of grief. The season of grief came just the right time. We returned to the peak. Were you there? We asked. I was. And who were you carrying? And who carrying you?
Yes.
Starving from hunger, pour out your heart like God before the face of God. Shivchi chamayim, chamayim, shivchi chamayim libech. Pour out your heart like water before the face of God. Someday soon, we'll pray that we will all be in one room together. Even my friend Ramona Taylor Williams, that's so far away, but can be here tonight. So many people we can reach this way, and yet we long to hold each other. But tonight we will weep, we will lament, and we will mourn for the place we are. And then we will make room. We will make room for something more. We'll see you tomorrow night if you want to join us again to end Tisha B'Av and again go from lament
to ascent, and we will go outside because there is a tradition when Tisha B'Av ends that we do a blessing for the moon, Kiddush Halevana. So I hope somehow that the clouds part, somehow we'll be able to see the moon tomorrow night, and that she'll guide us as we continue on our path. An easy fast.